The ADAS model. AP Macroeconomics.
And what is up, people? What is up? What is going on? On a Tuesday, people. Good morning to you guys all. We got some big announcements today. We have like a lot of announcements today. A lot of things going on. Let me make sure the music's not too loud here. I think it was too loud a little bit yesterday. All right, so. First announcement is what is due tonight, right? Problem set 3.1, what we did yesterday is due tonight. Most of you guys finished. Actually, I shouldn't say most of you guys. 17 of you guys finished it. 11 of you guys haven't finished it. You got to get that thing done. You got to get it done. It's super, super easy, right? Because these things are going to build, right? You know, you can't be learning AD when we're learning about, you know, reading the ADS model, right, and trying to figure out macro measures, right? So you got to stay really, really current, all right? But that's due tonight formally. What's also due tonight is AP Classroom MCs and FRQs. 2 of you guys have not done your FRQs, and 2 of you guys have not done your MCs yet. Most of you guys have got that done because that's pretty much all we did on Friday. Along those same lines, please go on and look at your AP Classroom FRQs. You guys all here? You guys all here right now? No one said anything yet. But please go look at your AP Classroom FRQs. I only scored like the 2 on Friday, but today what I did is I went through everyone and just hit next really quick. Right, so it says your FRQ has been scored. I didn't really score it, right? Because I'm not grading that, but I had to do that way you guys can see the answers. All right, so go on AP Classroom at some point after the lesson today, and look at your FRQs and score it yourself, right? See how many you would have got right. See what was needed and whatnot, right? Just score it yourself, and then just give a little formative assessment on where you're at in terms of that. And then on it, if you haven't looked at the MCs yet, right, whether you got them right or wrong, please do that as well, because the Unit 2 test, well, I'll probably drop that tomorrow. I may drop it today. I'm going to work on it after third hours class today, and if I get enough done, I'll just post it, right? But I think I might need a little bit more time tomorrow. We'll see. But the Unit 2 test is going to be available either today or tomorrow. It's going to be the same as always. You're going to have a few days to work on it. Remember, check your answer before you hit submit. I can't unsubmit it for you. Some students ask me, they're like, Mr. Moore, I never double check my answers. Can you give it back? Or I can't. Once you submit it, that's it. So Unit 2 test will be just like the other ones. On Go Formative, and it'll just say Unit 2 test in your class. It'll be pretty easy. All right. So. Yeah, and then lastly, I posted the answer key to that Unit 2 FRQ that I put in Google Classroom. Make sure you guys get a look at that. That FRQ is really, really important. That FRQ is, to me, if you can do that FRQ and you got all, I think, 5 questions right, to me, you're ready for the Unit 2 test. You're pretty good, right? If you got the explanations right and all the answers right, you're good to go. That's a good little small assessment on your knowledge of Unit 2. If you can do that FRQ. So I put the answer key on Google Classroom, so make sure you guys get a look at that. And so today we're going to learn about Aggregate Supply. Today will not be a long lesson at all. It's going to be much quicker than aggregate demand, and the problem set is going to be pretty easy as well. It's basically just a copy and paste of the aggregate demand problem set, but I changed the AD shifters to AS shifters, right? So it should be a very easy day today, I would suggest. Now tomorrow, I'm going to have to figure out how to do tomorrow, because tomorrow I'm going to have to do it differently virtually than I usually do in class. But tomorrow is going to be a day where we're going to manipulate the ADS model, and we're going to learn how to identify different macro measures on the ADS model. Not just price, level, and output, right? But we're going to measure everything on there. Unemployment, wages, incomes, net exports, interest rates, everything, right? And it all comes from knowledge of relationships. That's what macro is all about, relationships, okay? So That's what we're gonna do tomorrow. Tomorrow's a huge day. If you're gonna be absent tomorrow, let me know. Let me know. All right, because I'm gonna have to catch you up. Tomorrow's a big day. Today's gonna be a light day, but tomorrow's gonna be a bigger day. All right. I think it's all with the announcements. I think that's pretty much it. I think it's it. People, the haunted house is almost done. Right? We're going in soon. We're going in soon. I think we're just gonna save it for Friday, but it's being close. It's being close to being completed. It's gonna be pretty sweet. It's gonna be like a haunted house / escape room sort of thing. All right. So I hope you guys are down. I hope you guys are down to clown a little bit because it's gonna be scary. All right. If you're not scary, let me know. I'll let you guys join the live stream on Friday, like 20 minutes late. All right. If you don't want to get too scared, but it's gonna be scary. All right. You guys better believe. All right. So anyway. So today, since we have so much time, I thought it'd be a good idea to start up a new 5-game series, or not a 5-game, a 3-game series against Third Hour, right? So, did we ever do GeoGuessr in this class? I think we did GeoGuessr in this class. We're gonna do some GeoGuessr, and whoever wins 2 out of the 3 times, right, will get 1 summative point, and it's a big point. It really is. And I think 6th hour beat 5th hour last rotation, and that 1 summative point was like big for a lot of students. All right. Yeah, I think we did GeoGuessr. I don't know if we ever competed against any class though. It gets pretty competitive. All right, so let's do it. Let's do it. Let's jump into the GeoGuessr. This is your attendance in the chat, the GeoGuessr. All right, and we're gonna do world, people, because it's much more high stakes. It's much more high stakes. Ooh, a time limit, people. That's sweet. Let's do a time limit. Let's do a time limit. Is 4 minutes good, or is that not enough? Let's do 4 minutes. That's new. That's new. Yeah, we'll do 4 minutes. That way, like, it's completely fair, right? All right, people. Let's do it. You gotta help me. That's your attendance in the chat. You gotta help me. All right. The biggest thing is we gotta be in the right continent, or else, like, we're just totally not gonna win. All right. What's this? What's going on here? What's going on here, people? Oh, and there's the time right there. San Sebastian. San Sebastian. Alright. I'm thinking like South America right off the bat, right? South America. Looks like Africa. I think it's South America, I want to say. Yo, that food looks good though. Alright, we're gonna move around a little bit. You guys do the thinking, I'll do the moving, alright? Can we get a kilometers? Okay, that's big. Policia. Ooh, Spain. Yeah, yes. It could be Spain. I'm getting South America vibes, though, I'm not gonna lie. No, we want to go down this road. Everyone, get out of the way, please. Get out of the way. We're trying to move. We're trying to move here. We got a good spot, though. We didn't get thrown in the desert. We should be able to do good here. 2 minutes and 40 seconds, though, people. 2 minutes and 40 seconds. Once we get to like a minute left, I want you guys like putting countries and or cities, and then I'll take like the aggregate. This is like this town is blurry. It's not HD, which makes it kind of weird. All right, we gotta get. I'm thinking South America for sure, right? Oh, you guys. A lot of you guys are saying Spain. It could be Spain too. I don't know. Oh, Chile. We're in Chile. We're in Chile, people. We're in Chile. All right, we're in Chile. Let's see if we can find like any of those cities that we saw already. Because Chile is like a lot of like longitude here, you know. Like it's very north and south, so it could really mess us up. Chile. I said Chile. Nice, Allison. Nice. I'll once the time's up, then I'll look at the chat. I want to give you guys like a little movement here. We need to get like a city. That's what we need. The Chileans love pizza. Oh, hold on, I got a city name. I got a city name. Go back. There's this sign right here. Ah. Come on. Come on. Come on. Come on. I'm trying to help you guys. Alright, I'm going to you guys now. I pretty much did all I could do. Santiago. Yes, Santiago. I said Chile earlier. I'm so smart. Chile. Spain. It's by a lake ocean. Alright, so yeah, we're definitely in Chile, near a body of water. Well, yeah, Chile is all a body of water, no? Look at that. You guys thinking Santiago? Just put it like right in the middle. Riley, you might be right. I don't know. Oh, what? Oh no! Are you serious? Well, hold on. We would have put Santiago. Wait, hold on here. Hold on here. No. No, give us a redo. Give us a redo. Hold on. We're gonna do this. I didn't know it was gonna do that. I thought it was like, all right, you gotta guess, and then like it would stop the clock and let me guess, right? We're gonna do this. Map to Santiago, like distance. No. Yeah. Man, I botched that. Yeah, I want to travel. Someone give me miles to Santiago. It was like south. There we go. All right, so we got 825 kilometers. That's not bad. It's 825 kilometers. We're gonna have to remember that. Let me type it on this computer over here. 825 kilometers. Is that fair? Then set your. Yeah. This is good, right? That's how far we were. I almost, you guys said body of water, I almost put this lake down here. I'm not gonna lie. There's some drama here. I don't know. I feel like you guys kind of got ripped off a little bit. 4 minutes is good though. Like I don't think with 4 minutes the seniors are gonna be able to get the country, right? You guys might win today. All right. Stay tuned. All right. We're moving on, people. We're moving on to what we need to do today, all right? So it's not going to be long. Today. We're just going to talk about aggregate supply. It's going to be a lot like aggregate demand, obviously. It's going to be a lot like market supply, really. And then we'll jump in and do the problem sets, and then you guys will finish up anything that you need to finish up. Most of you guys are current, but some of you guys are falling behind just a little bit. Anybody who didn't say Spain got it correct. Yeah, see, that's the thing, though, right? If you're in the wrong continent, you are going to lose, right? Which has happened in other classes. Generally, if you're in the same country, you're probably going to be good. That was kind of far, though, but we're all right. All right, people. The ADAS model, right? Again, I can't stress it enough how important the ADAS model is. Again, it's going to be a graph that we're going to use the entire course. It is a graph that shows the economy, and it can give us every macro measure that we need. And we're going to get more into that tomorrow. But we just need to learn the two curves, AD and AS. And then actually on Thursday, we're going to learn about another curve called LRAS. Right? There's going to be 3 curves on this graph opposed to just 2 that was on our market supply and market demand. All right, so aggregate supply. Ooh, spooky. Oh yeah, people, there's some spook in this. Okay, all right. Anyway, so what is aggregate supply? Well, remember, market supply was this. Market supply was the willingness and ability to produce and sell a good at various prices, right? That's the idea of market supply. The willingness and ability to produce and sell a good at various prices. So aggregate supply is all supply curves added together, right? It's all producers in the U.S. willingness and ability to produce goods at various prices. That's the idea of aggregate supply, right? It's very, very simple. It's all supply curves added together. So it's going to give us our total quantity of all goods, right, in the U.S. at various prices, right? And again, we're measuring only GDP goods, goods produced domestically in the U.S. in a given year, final goods. So the supply for everything by all firms, aggregate supply. So aggregate supply differentiates between short run and long run, which is very, very, very important. All right, there's two different supply curves. We're going to talk about short run aggregate supply, and generally I just call it aggregate supply. I don't say short run aggregate supply, and even on my graph I just label it AS. Some students like to label it SRAS, and they like to, short run aggregate supply. I just call it aggregate supply, and then I differentiate that with long run, because I call it long run aggregate supply, and I label it LRAS. So there's two different supply curves, and we're going to talk about why. All right, short run aggregate supply, people, this is so important, right? Like looking back, like this is the moment where some students will get confused, and some students will be like, I got it, right? This is the difference between both curves, and also this is the difference between the long run and short run in economics. All right, and macroeconomics is going to be really important. It says short run aggregate supply, wages and resource prices will not increase as price level increase. That's the idea of short run. In long run, wages and resource prices will be flexible in the long run. All right, so this is what this means. Actually, I think I have further illustrations right here. All right, but short run in macroeconomics is this idea that it's such a short, it's not a period of time, but it's the idea, it's the concept of a short duration, like a short period of time where wages cannot adjust, right? And I hope that makes sense, right? In a brief period of time, generally wages can adjust for changes in overall price levels, aka inflation, right? Because imagine this, right? If inflation happens, it takes time for people to recognize inflation is occurring and to go out and ask their boss for a raise, right? To go get that wage increase. So wages and resource prices do not adjust. Economists say they're sticky in the short run. Wages, and I usually just say wages, but also technically resource prices, but wages are sticky in the short run. They don't change, right? Again, if inflation happens, it takes a lot of time for minimum wage laws to catch up, right? It takes time for wages to adjust when inflation happens, right? And also think about this, right? I don't know about most, but a lot of workers have contracts, right? Like labor contracts with their employer. 1-year contracts, 2-year contracts, 3-year contracts, you name it. So I'm willing to, like for me, for instance, right? Like if inflation happens, I can't get a wage increase. So I know my wage for this year, it's a salary, right? And I'm locked in this year. So if inflation does happen, I don't have any way to renegotiate my wage until the school year is up, right? So it takes time, right? In the short run, people's wages are sticky. They can't adjust the changes in overall price level, inflation, right? They can't adjust to inflation. I hope that makes a lot of sense. We're going to say in the long run, however, wages will adjust, right? If inflation happens this year, eventually, right, I'm going to demand higher wages to adjust for, rises in price level, right? Wages can adjust. My contract will expire, and at that point, me and my employer will talk about, an adjustment to my wage. If inflation happens in the long run, right, the U.S. will enact new minimum wage laws, hopefully, right? If there's enough time that goes by, that's the idea of long run in macroeconomics, wages can adjust. Wages are flexible in the long run, and they're sticky in the short run. And this goes for not just short run aggregate supply and long run aggregate supply, but like that's what short run means in economics. Long run in economics means enough time for wages to adjust. All right, you guys are going to see how important that is towards the end of the week, because I'm going to give you a question and it's going to say short run at the end of it, right? Like what happens, blah blah blah, in the short run, and you're going to know the answer. And if I change short run to long run, the answers are completely different, and it's because of this idea. In the short run, wages are sticky. In the short run is a small period of time where wages and resource prices can adjust, right? Because people are locked into their contracts with their employers. And in the long run, that is enough time for wages to eventually adjust. So wages are flexible in the long run. You guys all tracking on that? This is like the most important slide in this class. I know I say it a lot, but like, I don't know, asking any of my former students, they're like, oh my gosh, yeah, like short run, long run, like it's a big idea. Anyway, so short run aggregate supply, right? So it says in the short run, again, wages and resource prices are sticky. They do not change in the short run. You have to remember that. Wages can't adjust in the short run. I'm saying it a lot because it's really important. So let me show you, so how does this relate to our aggregate supply curve, right? What we're going to try to do now is explain why does aggregate supply look the way it does, and why does it look different than long run aggregate supply. All right, well here's a short run period of time, right? This is short run. It says if a firm currently makes 100 units that are sold for $1 each, the only cost is $80 in labor. All right, so my question to you is, what is their profit? If they make 100 units and they sell each unit for $1, and their only cost of production is labor cost, which is $80, what is their profit? What would be their profit? What would be their profit? Put the profits in the chat, people. Give me the profits in the chat. $20. $20, very, very good, right? You guys all are able to do that. Profit is always total revenue minus total cost. How much money do you bring in minus the cost of production, right? So in this case, it's $20, right? So they make $20, right? So what does this mean? Well, let's say in the short run, prices adjust, right? Who's DB603? Who is that? Who's Real Boy Cheesy Vids? What's going on here, people? All right. So if prices change, we want to know what happens in the short run. But I told you guys, in the short run, wages can adjust. Wages are sticky. In other words, these people that are making, or these labor costs right here can't change, right? Because people are locked into their contracts, right? They're locked into their contracts with their employer, right? Wages can't adjust in the short run. So here's what happens. Price level doubles, right? From $1 to $2, right? So therefore our total revenue would go to $200 instead of just $100. However, the labor cost would obviously stay the same, right? The labor cost is still going to be $80 because we said short run. It's very, very important. So now how much is their profit? Their profit is now $120. And their real profit has increased. Their nominal profit has, of course, increased, but their real profit has increased, right? Adjusted for inflation, right? The same amount of real profit would be $40 adjusted for inflation, right? The nominal profit. If nominal profit was $40, real profit would be the same. Does that make sense? Oh, I got you, Dylan. I got you. Right? So see how the real profit has increased? So that's the whole point. Is there is an incentive in the short run for employers to produce more when there's inflation, right? If labor costs stay the same because wages can't adjust in the short run, and prices increase, right? There's an incentive for producers to produce more, to hire more workers, to work more hours, right? To produce more output, right? This sort of goes back to what we talked about in Unit 2, how our natural rate of unemployment can dip below 5%, is this idea that wages stay the same, you're still paying your workers the same amount, but inflation happens, right? So you're able to hire workers that you normally wouldn't hire because they wouldn't be worth it. And put those workers to use, right? Because your profit would actually increase. That's the general idea. So in the short run, as price level increases, it's going to result in higher profits. So as price level increases, there's an incentive to increase production. That's the idea of short run aggregate supply. You guys all tracking on that? It's because in the short run, wages can't adjust. So we had inflation, right? Prices went up, but our costs stayed the same because wages can't adjust. So as price level increases, it's going to create an incentive to produce more. Do you guys hear that? Oh my gosh, it's a clown! It's a clown! What up, dude? It's an ADAS model clown. That's not scary. The ADS model is pretty easy, right? You guys are going to learn it pretty quick. Anyway, short run aggregate supply, right? It's upward sloping. Stop. Is that really loud? Is that sound loud? I hope it's not. I hope your ears aren't like bleeding. Like, oh my gosh, stop banging on that. All right, but people, this is what's going on here, right? And again, a lot of students label this SRAS. Let me just do it real quick for you, right? Just differentiate, please. No. So this is our short. It is loud. Sorry. So short Aggregate Supply is upward sloping, right? And we just talked about why. Because in the short run, if labor costs stay the same, because wages can't adjust in the short run, if price level increases, it's going to create an incentive to produce more, right? As price level increases, right, we're going to produce more output is the idea. Okay? Does that make sense, people? And then vice versa, right? If price level decreased, right? So say like, they were making $100 in revenue, now they're making $50 in revenue, but labor costs stay the same, there's an incentive to produce less as price level changes. So it's dependent upon changes in price level is determines how much is going to be produced and brought to market in the short run. So our short aggregate supply curve always is upward sloping. Kind of the same reasons and kind of different reasons than market supply, right? Just make sure you understand the difference here. We're going to learn on Thursday that long run aggregate supply is vertical. It doesn't matter what happens to price level in the long run, right? Is the idea. I don't think I have any more scary noises, right? Besides that, right? Don't worry. All right. So what are the shifters of aggregate supply? A little acronym is RAP, right? RAP, resource prices, actions by government, and changes to productivity. Okay. All right. So just like anything, people, an increase is a shift to the right. A decrease is a shift to the left, right? Just to be clear, right? If you read the shifter and you're like, oh yeah, that's an aggregate supply shifter. That changes aggregate supply. Well, don't change demand and don't draw an AS curve like parallel to demand, right? Draw your new AS curve parallel to your original AS curve and then mark it, right? AS1. You have to tell the AP graders that this is a new curve, and just for yourself too to make it a lot easier. So again, increase to the right, decrease to the left. It's the same thing with any curve that you're going to learn about in this class. Oh gosh, okay. All right. Anyway, shifters of aggregate supply. All right. So the first one is changes in resource prices. People, this was the most common one when we learned about market supply, right? Change in the cost of production. But now we're talking about aggregate supply, all supply curves. So it has to be a change in the price of a key resource, right? A macro resource, a resource that is used to produce a lot of goods, right? So like lumber is used to produce a lot of goods. Steel, oil, electricity, plastic, right? It has to be a resource that is used to produce a majority of goods that would actually change, the willingness and ability to supply for most suppliers in the economy. So let's say the price of lumber goes up. The price of lumber goes up, right? If the price of lumber goes up, right, we're not going to be able to produce as many houses, right? As many desks, as many tables, right? Anything that's made out of wood, right? We're not going to be able to produce as much because if the cost of lumber goes up, now we got to pay more for lumber. Right now we have less money to buy lumber and other resources. So it's the same thing with market supply. If the cost of production goes up, aggregate supply has to decrease and shift to the left, right? If Chinese steel goes down in price, Americans are going to buy more steel, like firms, right? People like me and you don't buy steel, but like firms, right? American firms would buy steel, and now they can buy more steel, right? And if they have more steel, they're obviously going to be able to make more bridges and things like that, things that are made out of steel. So an increase in the cost of production decreases aggregate supply, just like an increase in the cost of production decreases market supply, and a decrease in the cost of production would obviously increase aggregate supply, but it has to be like a key resource, right? So supply shocks, right? That's the idea of losing resources, right? So what is a negative supply shock? On your problem set today, it's going to say negative supply shock, what happens, right? You need to know what happens. A negative supply shock means we lose resources, right? Like there was a huge oil spill, right? So we lost oil. There was a negative supply shock of oil, right? We lost oil. So aggregate supply would decrease and shift to the left, right? A positive supply shock would mean like we found oil in Canada and now we have more oil, right? Now if we have more oil, we can produce more goods, right? Aggregate supply would increase, is the idea. Okay? This last one they like to ask a lot on FRQs, people. It's called inflationary expectations, and it's going to say what happens to aggregate supply, right? Because we know this. If people expect inflation to occur, they're going to spend money, right? Aggregate demand is going to increase. We talked about it yesterday. But if it specifically says what happens to aggregate supply, or better yet, if it says the word inflationary expectations, I want you guys to think about aggregate supply. And it's this idea. Aggregate supply is going to decrease if people expect inflation to occur, because if people expect inflation to occur, what are you going to do? Well, one, they're going to spend more money, aggregate demand is going to increase, but what are they going to do in terms of supply? If you expect inflation to happen, what are you going to do? Right? You're going to ask your boss for a raise. That's what I would do, right? If I knew that inflation was going to be like 5% next year, I would be talking to GBHS and be like, hey, I'm going to need at least a 5% raise, or else it's not happening, right? I need an increase in my raise, because if prices increase by 5%, my real wage will decrease. So if inflationary expectations increase, if people expect higher prices in the future, aggregate supply has to decrease, shift to the left. Okay? That's the idea. So those are the most common shifters of aggregate supply, people. Increase in the cost of production, decrease aggregate supply. Negative supply shock, decrease aggregate supply. Inflationary expectations, decrease aggregate supply. A decrease in the cost of production or a positive supply shock would increase aggregate supply. Okay? All right. What was that? Whoa. All right, anyway. All right, the next one is change in actions by government, right? Change in actions by government. So not government spending, right? We know that government spending, the willingness and ability to buy goods, is aggregate demand, right? The government wants to spend more money or spend less money. That's going to be aggregate demand, right? It has to be something that's going to affect producers, something the government does to affect producers, right? So it would be taxes and subsidies. So if the government increases corporate taxes, right, that would affect a lot of businesses, right? All corporations in the U.S. If they increase corporate taxes, that would obviously decrease aggregate supply. That's essentially an increase in the cost of production. If they lower corporate taxes, that would cause an increase in aggregate supply. If they lower the amount of taxes that corporations have to pay, corporations will have more money, so they'll buy more of their own stocks. I'm just kidding, but in theory, right, they're going to hire more workers, and they're going to have more money. They're going to be able to buy more resources. Thus, they're going to be able to produce more. Aggregate supply would increase. Okay, is the idea. And then obviously a subsidy is the opposite of a tax. So say the government decides to give farmers subsidies, right? That'd be macro, right? There's a lot of farmers, and that affects food prices nationwide. So if the government grants more subsidies to farmers, we're going to see an increase in aggregate supply. More food will be produced, right, in our country. So more subsidies, more supply. Now be careful though, right? If it says lower subsidies, that would cause a decrease in aggregate supply. That means we're removing subsidies. Maybe we used to give farmers $10,000 a year to be a farmer. Now we're only going to give them $5,000 a year to be a farmer. That's essentially an increase in the cost of production. If they're receiving less money than they did before, they're not going to be able to bring as much to market. So that's pretty much that. And then government regulations. It says the EPA inspections, Environmental Protection Agency. Inspections required to operate a farm. So it's just more regulation, typically, right? Kind of and kind of not. But like in general, if there's more government regulations, generally that decreases aggregate supply, right? Now, don't take that the wrong way. That doesn't mean government regulation is a bad thing, right? We need government regulation, right? A restaurant doesn't have the right to serve you toilet water. They have to tell you, right? And their water has to be inspected, right? They can't, a meat producer can't just give you meat and be like, yeah, it's chicken, right? It's going to be inspected. It has to have an expiration date on it. Their farm is going to be inspected, right? Regulations are a good thing, but if there's a lot of regulation, sometimes that does decrease aggregate supply, right? Because think about if I'm a farmer and now instead of being inspected once a year, I got it inspected like once a week, right? If I'm a farmer, I might not be down for that. I might be like, you know what, that is a lot of work. I don't want to be a farmer anymore. Or I don't want to be a farmer anymore. This is too much going on. This is like if I was a teacher, well, I'm a teacher, but say that they were like, hey, in order to stay being a teacher, you need to pay $200 to take the teacher certification test every year. You got to do this, and that, this, and that. I'd be like, you know what? I don't want to be a teacher anymore. I'm just going to go do something else instead, right? So just the more regulations generally will slower aggregate supply, will decrease aggregate supply. On ANCAP doesn't care about government regulation. What's that? What's ANCAP? What's that? All right, number 3, changes in productivity, right? So this one's pretty easy. It's just like technology, right? If there is an invention that affects most producers, right, aggregate supply will increase, right? So say like they invent the teleportation machine, right? Like we can now teleport. That would increase aggregate supply because no longer do people have to commute to work. They just like click a button and boom, they're at work right away. That would probably increase aggregate supply. Or, they could ship resources a lot quicker, right? You can teleport resources like insanely quick. That would increase aggregate supply. I know it's like, not realistic, right, in the current time, but that's just an example, right? A computer virus destroys half the computers and like we lose half the computers and we can't bring them back, right? That would decrease aggregate supply. So pretty simple, right? The shifters of aggregate supply are pretty simple. You're going to see words like production, producers, cost, things like that, right? It should tell you that it's aggregate supply, all right? Any change to willingness and ability to buy, right? That's aggregate demand. Consumer spending, government spending, business spending, and currency exchange rates, right? Anything that's going to affect foreigners, willingness, ability to buy, that's aggregate demand, right? But aggregate supply is pretty easy. It's change in the cost of production, change in productivity. If we lose resources or find more resources, or if there's a change in taxes and subsidies on producers. Most of the time, you guys are going to see taxes on income, right? Income taxes, that's aggregate demand, right? People will get taxed more or less on their income. That's going to affect their willingness, ability to buy. It has to be a tax or subsidy on producers. That would, therefore, change aggregate supply. All right. Cool clown. All right, so you guys are going to do the same thing as you guys did yesterday. I really want you guys having just some huge scrap sheet of paper and you're just putting tons of work on there, right? You're drawing the ADS model and you're using that to figure out what happens to output and price level. You guys are going to notice today when you change aggregate supply, one of them is going to increase, one of them is going to decrease, right? Output or price level, one of them is going to increase, the other one's going to decrease. Just get more used to graphing. And then tomorrow what we're going to do, let me skip ahead to tomorrow. Tomorrow what we're going to do is this, right? I'm going to give you a scenario. And what we're going to have to do is figure out what happens to this, right? Price level and output, which you guys should be able to do by now. And then we're going to learn about all these other ones, these different relationships. And we're going to be able to read it on the graph, even though the graph only measures output and price level. But we're going to understand the relationships between unemployment is related to output, and incomes are related to unemployment, and wages are related to output, right? And so forth and so on, right? Real wages are related to price level. That's what we're going to do tomorrow. So the problem should be pretty easy. It's just aggregate supply. Right? But people, I can't tell you how important it is. If you move AD or AS or move the wrong curve and move in the wrong direction, it's going to get out of hand as we build and learn more concepts and use more of the ADS model, right? You have to recognize which curve changes and which direction do you put it in, and identify price level and output, because starting tomorrow it's going to get so much more complex. I don't want to scare you or anything, but you have to know this bare minimum right now, okay? All right, people, I'll see you guys in Google Meet. You guys take a little break if you want it. 11:43, you better be in there, all right? Thank you for staying tuned to the live stream. I'll see you guys soon.